If someone gains access to a system and is in there, typically what they're going to do is they're going to look around. So they're going to establish what we call persistence. With that persistent access to your system, they're going to log in when you're not looking. They're going to look around, figure out what's there, figure out what the assets are, maybe even find your cybersecurity policy.
Hi everyone, this is Amy Valdivia, and this is the Just Ask Upland Podcast. We are a podcast of the Upland Chamber of Commerce where we get to highlight and celebrate all of our members. Every member in our business community will have an opportunity to spend some time here on our podcast. We are the best chamber in the Inland Valley. Did I tell you that before? We were voted the best chamber in the area. And I gotta tell you, today I get to interview Mr. Eric Hanson, 23-year veteran of the Chamber of Commerce. I needed to say that correctly so I don't get into trouble. He's quite the celebrity, a constant contributor to multiple podcasts, which we don't really want to talk about all of them, even though they have been recognized by Forbes, because we know where else we'll be focusing right here, Just Ask. However, he knows how to do all this, as well as he's quite the analytic businessman who has taught me so much, an activist in the community, which you didn't know we were going to talk about all that, did you? And I got to tell you, he's an advocate, one of the greatest advocates for the Chamber of Commerce. I have learned from this person so much over the last few years, and I'm so grateful. So welcome, Mr. Eric Hanson.
Well, thanks, Amy. And now we know why I'm old.
Well, you said it, not me. Inland Productivity Solutions.
It's even older.
Did you buy that or did you create it?
No, I had an entrepreneurial fit and started the business.
Okay.
As not what we do today. I got a gig doing programming for Nissan Motor Corporation a million years ago because I had a lot of knowledge of dealerships and how all that worked. And got pulled in there, figured out I didn't like doing programming, and the business kind of morphed into what we are today, which is a managed service provider serving small and medium businesses to meet their IT needs and help them meet their business goals.
Now, did you go to school?
I did go to school. I went to elementary school.
Of course, that's how you answer my question.
I even went to college.
My goodness
More than
gracious.
one.
And you have a degree?
Yeah.
Certificate? Anything?
I have.
To show for?
Yes, I have degrees.
And what are your degrees in?
So I have a degree in aviation maintenance.
What? I never knew this about you.
That's because I don't want anybody to know because they'll ask me questions. And my degree's in my bachelor's is in operations management from Cal Poly Pomona.
Okay, and then you decided to work for dealerships.
I was working for dealerships while I was going to school. I started at Cal Poly as a aerospace engineering major, and it turned out nobody was getting any jobs. So
hence the entrepreneurial fit.
Changed to operations management. No, the entrepreneurial fit is a curse of my family. And we have, there's a whole bunch of us who've done stupid stuff creating businesses. And pretty much all been successful. So
well,
we're fortunate there.
I don't know if it's stupid stuff if you've lasted how many years?
34, 30, I guess this year will be 35 years.
I should say that that's not a stupid move. It was pretty
successful. Seems to have worked out.
It's done very, very well for you. Now, I talked about the fact that you're a very active member in the chamber. Why did you decide to be so involved? Yes, I want to hear good and bad.
Because it worked. The very first thing I went to was at the Grove Theater, actually, and came in and didn't know anybody there. And I walked in, and about 5 minutes later, I was ready to walk out. So I'm like, I don't know anybody here. I am not comfortable. This is not my gig. This is way too grown up for me. And fortunately, ambassador back then, Jim Mangiapane, grabbed me. He's like, let me introduce you to a bunch of people. So he towed me around and got me introduced to a bunch of people. And 4 years later, I'm like, why am I not on their board? I was ambassador, and here we are.
And now you are the chair.
For the third time.
That's right. You are the trusted advisor to the board because you've been around for so long.
Which is what I try to be in my business, is the trusted advisor to our business clients.
Now, I know you said that the chamber was the place to be. Tell me how it's impacted your business being a member.
So a couple of things. My business is one of those businesses where people don't call until they have a real problem. It's kind of like a woman changing her hairdresser. They don't do it until something's really, really wrong. Because people are afraid to change IT.
I have to stop you right there because, Frank, are you listening? Keep going.
People are afraid to change their IT provider. It's one of those areas that people don't understand real well in a lot of cases. It's changed somewhat, but in a lot of cases people really don't fully understand what's going on. It's the black box that magically makes my business work, and whoever I'm dealing with is a pain in the butt and they never call me back, and my stuff's broken, but they eventually fix it, and they'll put up with that because they're afraid to rip the Band-Aid off and fix it. Being top of mind when that Band-Aid ripping off moment occurs is very important. So that's one of the reasons that we're so involved. I'm fortunate to call many, many chamber members now our client. Of course, when I started here, I couldn't say that.
The chamber itself.
Yeah, the chamber itself too. At a highly discounted rate is a client, but it's just about being in the place where people are thinking, hey, all right, I know somebody when they need that, when they have that need, or when they realize it.
It's safe to say that the Chamber of Commerce is your number one marketing strategy?
It's among our most effective marketing strategies. Yes.
Well,
search engine optimization has changed that game a lot.
Of course.
But you don't always, you might have a first call and never get a second call.
Belly to belly is still effective marketing for a business.
Sure.
Okay, perfect segue. You said that the business has morphed into what it is today.
Yeah.
Tell me all about the services that you offer.
We're essentially an outsourced IT department. If you're not big enough to have an IT department, we have a client that's based on the East Coast, and they use us to do all the feet on the ground for them in their very, very large warehouse out in Ontario, and everything in between. So our main bread and butter is small to medium businesses up to about 100 employees, where we act completely as the IT department, and dealing with the software vendors, dealing with phones and connectivity and all the stuff that a business owner is never going to get good at. If that's not their focus, they're never going to get good at doing that. And we do projects for companies that have IT departments where, we have no idea how to do this migration to Office 365 correctly. Just hire us to do it. We'll do it. We'll make sure it's done right, and provide the back-end services to make that IT department look good. We run into a lot of situations where IT departments are afraid to engage us because they're like, hey, wait, these guys are just going to come in and want our job. Heck no. If you guys have an IT department and they're usually focused on the operational pieces of the business, so they know the business operations side of the software, we're never going to be as good at that as somebody who's in it every day. But they need somebody to do this infrastructure project that they'll do once in their career. Hire somebody to do it that knows how to do it.
You work side by side with that IT
Yeah.
company.
Yep.
What's the number one call you get for help?
The number one call, it's really boring. It's
Go ahead.
adds, moves, and changes.
Adds, moves, and changes.
Adds, moves, and changes. We got a new employee. We're offboarding this employee. We're going to be offboarding this employee at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon.
That's the nice way of putting it. Cut them off at 3 o'clock.
That's
because
right,
we're terminating them quick.
Right, when they go in the meeting, nothing works when they come out.
I actually was going to say, why isn't my computer turning on?
There's a reason. It's probably broken.
Or it's unplugged.
Yeah.
I think that's when I first used your services. We have an IT company, the whole department.
Yeah.
And we just could not. My IT guy was sitting there saying, try this, try that. And the next thing you know, one of your guys came over and said, oh, it's just not plugged in completely. Well, that was fast. That was one of those easy button commercials for you from Staples.
Well, sometimes you just need another set of eyes on it.
Right. Well, I felt pretty small at that moment.
Yeah. But how many hours did you spend between you and another resource goofing around with it when we were able to come and fix the problem like that?
30 seconds flat.
It wasn't 30 seconds, but it was pretty quick.
Pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that you listeners don't know about Eric is he's quite the speaker. And I've heard him speak a few times. What he speaks about when it comes to cybersecurity, that's actually the best speech that I've ever heard him give. And he's done it a couple times in my presence. And I want him to talk about it today. One of the things that I hear, no TikTok, no this, no that, and people are taking your identity, et cetera, et cetera. Share, please. We need to hear. We need to hear all of it.
We can hear it, and then people will tune it out because they think, this doesn't apply to me. I'm not big enough to be interesting. Nobody wants to steal my stuff. Well, if you got a bank account, somebody wants to steal your stuff. It's that simple. And TikTok, I'm not a big fan. As you can tell from what's going on currently in the government,
right.
They're not a big fan. There's a reason they're not a big fan. I'll leave it at that. Cybersecurity is kind of the thing that I spend probably most of my time focused on now, outside of meeting with customers and being the face of the business. And there's so much going on and so many things that people need to pay attention to. And we walk them through, here's what an attack actually looks like. And I think that helps people understand better what they need to defend against and what they need to think about to try to do the best they can with the tools that they have. So many people are like, oh yeah, I bought my computer at Staples and I turned it on and it had this antivirus thing on it, and then I let it expire, but it's on there, so it must be doing its thing. Well, no, it's not. And then the other thing that we really focus on the business side is, it turns out that the protection that comes in whatever operating system, whether that's a Mac or a PC, whatever comes with it, is not actually terrible security anymore. The problem is that people either have, almost every manufacturer ships with stuff on it that is an add-on, that unless you uninstall that add-on, the built-in security that's actually pretty good isn't working because you didn't uninstall that free whatever. And I'm trying to stay away from brands because they all, everybody does it. And almost nobody pays for the add-on subscription on the back end. And then the other thing that people really need to pay attention to is phishing, because the reality is, as the email systems have gotten better, the ability for things to get delivered that are the spray, what we call the spray and pray emails, those are pretty easy to spot. But if they're highly targeted, what we're seeing is spear phishing attacks, which are going after your credentials, so your login information. By the way, if you don't have multi-factor authentication turned on literally everything, that is the first thing you do after you finish watching this fabulous podcast because you need to turn that on. Security is a pain. It's a hassle. It just is what it is. I can't make the world different. I can tell you how to defend yourself and be protected from the bad things in the world. None of that, of course, is perfect. And in business situations, what we're doing is we're adding software so that we can actually detect when somebody screws up and something gets through.
When somebody opens that email or accidentally clicks the link, you are working on something to combat that immediately.
Well, it's not so much combating it, but there's no software solution is perfect. So, no amount of what we call pre-boom security can prevent everything. So now we need to know, okay, well, all the preemptive stuff we did didn't work because at the end of the day, you or me, we clicked on the wrong thing. It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon or evening, you've had a long day, you just want to get out of there, this one last email. I've done it. And, it truly can happen to anybody. And sometimes we'll see in a corporate environment, that didn't seem right. I'm just going to turn my computer off and go home. No, say something.
And it's Friday evening, and so now...
And it's Friday evening, and it's an emergency call, and who cares? Because that emergency call could turn into a major, major event. If we talk about...
And ransom requests, right?
Oh yeah. We have responded and been the incident response on multiple, relatively large events. Not events that NBC comes and does an expose. Nobody from 60 Minutes is showing up at our office to go, hey, what happened here? But events that could potentially put a company out of business.
Okay, walk me through those events. Because when I heard you speak, I thought, oh my gosh, how many times have I clicked on an email accidentally? Or, it's sitting there and I'm going, let me just take this one out of quarantine. Why? Something makes me think I should respond to that email. And lo and behold.
Right.
So walk me through the steps, the way it
What does an attack chain look like? So it really depends on the industry, but the common attacks that we're seeing now are truly spear phishing attacks. So it's not difficult to figure out who people are, where they work, and what their position is. So we a lot of times see attacks going after C-suite people, and you still have a C-suite if there's 2 people in your company. It's just a smaller suite, but the attack is typically very, very targeted at a specific person. So, it's going to be a request for, need this banking information, need whatever fits for that person's position to get them to either give up information, and maybe there's nothing to click on, maybe there's no payload. It is completely social engineering. So we've seen that one several times. People are, why can't you fix this? Because I can't make you think. I can teach you how to think and be suspicious of things, but we have several slides. We do an in-person training for our customers. A lot of our peers have adopted, and we use this too. These online security trainings. But what do you do with an online security training?
Multitask.
You start it and you put it on this screen and you go ahead and continue to work. And if you're in the C-suite, guess what you do? Well, I'm smarter than everybody else that works here. I would never click on that. Well, but you're the biggest target. And if there's $1 million in that bank account, I can spend a lot of time to get $1 million. That's actually worth me investing a fair amount of time in. So you got to think like the bad guys. But we've seen several of those in ransomware. Of course, everybody's heard of ransomware. We have been the responder on those events for businesses who people who would be watching this podcast would recognize.
Really? Successfully supported them, or did they have to pay?
No, successfully supported.
Oh, nice.
And to say that, don't ever pay, that's not necessarily realistic. I actually sat on a panel a couple of years ago with another IT company and an FBI agent. And I got thrown that question first. Hey, if you get ransomware, do you pay? And my answer is, okay, the guy over there, the FBI guy, he's probably going to say, don't pay. But we'll get to him in a minute. My answer is, it depends. It depends whether you have the correct solution in place, and it depends what you're being ransomed for today. Because it's not just to get your data back necessarily. If someone gains access to a system and is in there, typically what they're going to do is they're going to look around. So they're going to establish what we call persistence. And with that persistent access to your system, they're going to log in when you're not looking. They're going to look around, figure out what's there, figure out what the assets are, maybe even find your cybersecurity policy. Because guess what? It's got limits for various activities. Well, now we know how much they're going to pay because that's right there on the declaration pages. So, okay, we know this is worth $300,000. Guess how much the ransom's going to be? It's going to be $300,000. So what we want to do is we want to look around. I'm talking as the bad guy now.
Of course.
I want to look around and figure out, okay, what things are valuable that I can use to extort you to ensure that you pay. I'm going to locate those items. I'm going to pull them off your system onto my system. So now I don't care if you got a backup. Your backup is meaningless. Cool, you can be back in business if I ransom you. But if I go ahead and release all that information on the people that you lent money to,
right?
Now you got something to protect. You're encrypted. We know you have backups. That's cool. But do you want me to release everything for every loan you've done for the last 10 years?
Could be worth millions.
Guess what? That $300,000, you're paying that out and nothing flat. So those are the kinds of attacks that we're seeing now, is these extortion-based attacks. So it's worth, it's worth the bad guy's time to get in there.
Those extortion-based attacks, mostly on businesses or personal or both?
Mostly on businesses, but you personally have a bank account. If you've gotten to a certain point in life, you have a bank account, and you probably have a couple things that you don't want people to know. Whether it's a proclivity for farm animals or...
I knew we were going somewhere. I knew it was going there.
Well, as a mandatory reporter, there's interested. You have to know where the limits are, which we are, by the way. Mandatory reporters stumble across things like that. I can say I've never stumbled across that, but it's a good example. But you may have business documents. If you're a business owner and you're trying to buy something, there's any number of things that people store on their systems that they really don't give a lot of thought to. It's like, oh, crap, they have what my net worth is. They know where all my accounts are because I decided I was going to go paperless and I'm going to scan all my investment statements and all my bank statements, and I saved those in PDF files named bank statements on my personal computer.
I don't know about any of you out there listening. I've got just chills completely going down my back. You're talking about me.
I know.
I'm
talking about everybody.
What about having stuff in the cloud versus on your system? Do I turn my computer off at night or not? Or then there's cameras.
Once your username and password is compromised, if you didn't enable that that two-factor authentication that I said, turn it on everything at the beginning of this, if you haven't done that, it doesn't matter if you turn your computer off if it's in the cloud, because the cloud's available all the time.
Okay, passwords.
What about passwords?
Do we use a vault or not?
Yes, you use a vault with multi-factor authentication turned on. You use the random password generator that it gives you, and you do not, absolutely do not, save passwords in browsers.
Say that again, because they need to hear that. Everybody needs to hear this.
Do not save passwords in browsers. Browsers are, think about how frequently you get, oh, Chrome needs to restart to update, or Firefox has an upgrade, or Edge, or whatever browser flips your switch. If you need to apply those updates like right now. If it shows that there's an update in that upper right-hand corner, just update it because it's going to close all the pages, apply the update, and reopen it. You're not going to lose where you are. Your 273 tabs you have that have made your machine run super slow. And I'm guilty of that, by the way. I just keep throwing more machine resources at it. But apply those immediately, because that could be the security leak that allows someone to go in and grab those passwords that are saved in the browser.
Okay. Now, two-factor authentication.
Yes.
We're aware. What else do you put in place for businesses?
So we put, depending upon the complexity of the business and their needs, and quite frankly, their budget, and this kind of goes to understanding the business, which is a thing that I really work hard to do, is understand what do we do, where's our risk? Because at the end of the day, this is all about risk. But we put pieces of software in place that actually look for that persistence that I talked about. Because the big attacks that you've heard about, we'll go way back, Target and Home Depot, those attacks, they had persistence. And over 90% of attacks that occur start with persistence. So somehow, some initial access broker gets something on your machine so that they have access. By the way, those initial access brokers, they sell that initial access to other people. It's a whole economy. But so we're looking for that.
The dark web.
Yes, that's where it's sold, is on the dark web. That's where you've been sold, I'm sure. I've been sold there. Probably everybody behind the cameras here has been sold there too. They're just blissfully unaware of it. Until
we are
now.
Blissfully unaware.
You're blissfully unaware, I think. Yeah.
This is an awesome interview. I'm loving this information. Keep going.
Well, at least you know what you're doing this afternoon,
Scare
right?
me some more. Scare me some more. Yay!
So we're looking for that initial access because that's such a high propensity. There was an attack just this week on a specific phone system that did not work quite that way. It was a nation-state-based attack that was able to inject software into the running software, so it never went to disk, so it never had persistence. And when something doesn't have persistence, it's much more difficult to trace. So what you have to have is much better monitoring of what the traffic across the network is. And we're kind of getting down into the geek weeds here, and I'm going to try to stay out of the geek weeds. But when you get down into that area where traffic is moving across the network and it never touches the hard drive, it's very difficult to detect. So we have tools that can detect that and see, hey, something's going on. If we see something that is going on, we can isolate a machine or a group of machines from the network to prevent the spread of that.
And you're able to monitor all of this.
Yeah, and we monitor and facilitate the installation and maintenance of that, and we have a 24-hour security operations center that actually watches that for us so that we can act on behalf of the client.
All this is so complex, and you're taking
got a couple moving parts.
How many people do you employ to do all of this?
We don't have a large staff. We're a mid-sized MSP, and we're 9 people.
Able to provide the service and security.
Right, and understand our lane, And hey, you know what? I need to use a third party to do this piece because, you don't see a lot of security incidents, in our client base. That's not to say that while we're sitting here right now, we've got someone who did the wrong thing and is getting mangled and my phone's not blowing up because my team's taking care of it.
Wow, you got a lot going on. There was a moment that we were all sent home. The pandemic began. Some of us got to go back to work, whole lot of restrictions. I gotta believe your business didn't just fall apart.
Well, in some aspects, no. In other aspects, yes. My service manager's like, I think we should send everybody home now so that A, we don't pass it around the office if somebody gets it, and so that we're fully prepared to do what, frankly, probably 75% or more of our customers didn't know how to do because they never had anybody work from home. Everybody came to the office. That's how we worked. Not like, smaller companies, I think, had a much harder time with it because they're typically a single location, maybe two locations. They're not a big company where, I've got to have sales reps all over the country. I've got to have, people everywhere. So they didn't have, not like we didn't know how to deliver that technology. They just didn't have a need for it. And all of a sudden, everybody had a need for some secure way to allow their customers or their employees to work effectively or as effectively as they did. So we were able to supply that. We had all the pieces in place. We just had not had a reason to deploy those pieces to an awful lot of customers. So we had a couple of weeks of major running around.
Very busy days.
Very, very, very busy days.
And I got to believe that the phone calls included, my printer's not working. And oh my gosh, what about the phones?
Right, what about the phones? I mean, it drove a big adoption of voice over IP where people have been kind of, this works, I don't need to deal with it. I heard bad things about that. So the adoption of all that sort of stuff came pretty quickly. We had some people who were like, oh no, we'll just have people use their cell phones. I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea, but this is going to end one day. And now all of your customers have your sales rep's direct phone number, and guess what? Your sales rep's going to work someplace else. And he has all their contact information, or she has all their contact information. So it made people think about stuff that they maybe hadn't thought about. So that was the good, we had a lot of opportunity there. A lot of our customers are contracted, so we didn't necessarily get paid extra to do that. But we were able to help our clients through that interesting time, unless of course they needed hardware, because that to this day remains a problem. It's relatively easy to get computers, but it's the things that people don't think about. Network switching and things that are still constrained. I have parts still that have a year lead time.
Oh my gosh.
That pre-pandemic, you go pick it up at the warehouse today if you needed it. So
you're actually business consulting support, not just IT.
Not just IT. And we're always trying to look at the whole business.
Right. Teaching them what technology to adopt or not, or ways to run their business or not. Hence my next two follow-up questions. Number one, what do you think about AI? As well as one of the things that I've learned about you and from you, you are meticulous when it comes to looking at the numbers of a business.
These are two totally different questions.
Absolutely, two completely, but I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, you're consulting. You're sitting there learning about a business, which is exactly what a coach or consultant does. Tell me all about your business and how you run. And now, where do I place my support services for you in my arena? However, by then, you've already gotten the majority of the information on how to run the business. You may not be looking at the books as the CPA would, but you understand that. And so I want to talk about those two areas. Yes, they're two very different questions, but very much so what I learned from you. So first go AI.
Oh, I was going to go the other way, but that's okay. I can talk about anything, as you know.
Go ahead.
No, so we'll talk about AI. So what about AI? At the time of this recording, ChatGPT is probably a thing that most people have heard of maybe in the last couple of months. It had been around a lot longer than that. My concern with it is people are so accustomed to, hey, I'll just Google that and I'll get the right answer. Well, they're going to expect that same thing from ChatGPT or similar services and access to similar services. Microsoft's already built it into the browser. So now that we're seeing these engines get integrated into search engines or search results, Microsoft's got it built into their Bing product. And if you scroll up on a Microsoft search result, you get right to the AI engine. But if you want to see how wrong this stuff can be, just ask it to write a resume or a bio for you. I had it write one for me. Man, am I an interesting cat. And literally, almost none of it was accurate. I have a degree from UCLA. Well, I've been on that campus. I have a degree from USC. I have a master's degree from USC.
Wow.
But then the next time I asked, I had a master's degree from Pepperdine. So you just never know what it's going to tell you.
Now, the way the technology works, you can teach it incorrectly.
Correct. Clearly, it's been taught incorrectly about me, and I was very specific in what I asked. I included my name, my location, the name of the business, and it still gave me that nonsense. I ran a software company. No, I didn't. So, in a lot of ways, if people are using that for fact checking, it's a problem. There's on the other side, there's some cool stuff. We have to write scripts to make computers do certain things. I can ask it to do that. It'll write it perfectly. It might not have absolutely 100% of the context, but it's a great helper. So one of the pundits, if you will, that I listen to, kind of put it that it is, or there's a thought that it's not going to replace people, but it's going to be your assistant. You're going to have this AI assistant that you can throw stuff off to, that'll get it close. I, in fact, used ChatGPT to write a piece of a proposal recently. So I'm like, I just don't feel like writing this. So I threw it at it, and what it came back with was enough to get me started. And tweak it from there to actually make it say what it needed to say.
An infrastructure, it got you started, and you were able to do whatever you needed to do.
Right.
So efficiency.
It's going to get better.
And efficiency becomes something that we see as a result. I mean, we can get more done, potentially.
Maybe, right.
We can work smarter.
Maybe.
In some cases. It truly is a helpful tool. It's
right,
when people rely on it.
Right. It's a tool. It is not the ultimate answer.
Gotcha.
It is a tool, and we've had so many things in the years I've been in this business that, this is going to replace all these people. Well, it turns out it doesn't replace the people. It maybe makes the people more efficient, and maybe tweaks the people, so you need different kinds of people, but the people don't go away.
Hence, my other question. When you're looking at your business, you said you went through this entrepreneurial fit because it is in your blood. It's in your genetics to be an entrepreneur. You've managed a business for a long time, and you help with the chamber. You're looking at the numbers. You're so analytical. I want to hear about that. Was this self-taught? Was this part of your classes? Go ahead.
It's partially business school, but partially seeing what happens. We're fortunate to be able to see what happens in a lot of different businesses. The one thing I wish I could have in our contracts is to have the option to, every once in a while, just vote someone off of a customer's island. Because often we can see, here's where your problem is, and the problem happens to be a person. This person really needs to go away because they're creating an awful lot of unnecessary motion in your business.
Costing you a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But, that's one of the things as business owners we all fight with.
I ask these
never
questions
perfect.
because I want to segue into Eric Hanson, the dad about town. Let me tell you, he is, when you talk to Eric and he's teaching you, I found, oh my gosh, this is quite interesting to hear him. I can just imagine what it was like when he was raising his children. And then I got to know him a little bit more, and I realized how involved he was with the community and the kids and all of their activities. We've got Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not here to brag on myself.
How long were you involved in that? Go ahead.
Long time.
Of course you're here to brag about yourself.
Technically, I still am, because I'm doing that as a volunteer through Rotary.
How many years?
A lot.
People want to know who you are. It's okay to share.
Something less than 20, but probably approaching that.
Now, I spent time at Upland High School at a few events.
Yeah.
And I'm listening, looking around. What the heck? Why is he following me? Where is this guy? And I'm looking over my shoulder. You were the voice of Upland High.
Well, I was the voice of the marching band.
Keep going.
That was it.
Not just the marching band. They had you up there multiple times. Well, I think you were training the other announcers for other sports.
No. Pablo is the man. Pablo is the man when it sports
Pablo,
announcing.
are you hearing this? He's giving you a great attaboy. However, you're not talking about what you did for the high school.
No, I just did what needed to be done. That's what I do.
You just jumped in and said,
here's a hole that needs to get filled, and I don't care that I'm the face or the person somebody recognizes this. This needs to get done. Let's get it done. This is just kind of my style of leadership. I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, well, I'm too good to do that. I'll work on whatever needs to get worked on. Let's load the truck. I don't need the glory. That's not my thing.
What did your kids say about you being so involved?
They hated it. They absolutely hated it. It's like, you sound stupid up there, Dad. Well, somebody handed me a script and said, here, somebody needs to do this time. And then the next time it was like, well, somebody needs to do this all the time, and it's going to be you. So
they didn't.
So then I ended up announcing for him for 8 or 9 years in a row.
Wow.
But
can you imagine? Oh my God, Dad's at school again. That's my dad's voice. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I can just imagine that. Now, money 101. I think that it is a fantastic thing that you teach your kids. Something most people don't teach their kids.
what?
What's the number one lesson? Go ahead.
The number one lesson is don't buy crap you can't afford. The number 2 lesson is start saving now, because if you save a little bit every month or every year, my kids all had IRAs by the time they were 18.
Right.
But that was not me. That was beat into me by my mom, who was a financial advisor and enrolled agent. So you just pass that along, and my kids were freaked out about, oh no, I can't afford college. I'm like, why do you think you have to worry about affording college? I planned for that.
And it all works in the end.
Yeah.
You've got a business to run. You're involved in how many things with the chamber and Rotary and this and that, and you're running all over the place.
Just stuff and
just a few things here and there.
Restoring a car or two.
Oh, that's right. The love of cars. How many cars?
I don't have a stupid number of cars.
How many?
I only have a couple old Datsuns that I'm doing right now.
Right now. And what's the plan? How many?
Who knows?
What's the goal?
Who knows? Whatever Debbie will let me. get away with.
Did you hear that, Debbie? We have that on record. So she's right now shaking her head saying 0.
She won't say 0. She won't say 0.
You have a man cave for these toys?
Yes, I do have a man cave for toys.
Okay. And Nissan, you're quite the Nissan supporter.
Well, I mean, old Datsuns, so yeah, I guess you could say Nissan. But,
and you're
yeah.
quite the fast driver. I'm alive. Everybody knows I'm still here. Hello, hello, I'm here.
That part.
How fast did we go up the hill?
Fairly rapidly.
Yes.
We were late. I had to turn around and get you.
I never knew what it was like to drift.
You still don't. You still don't.
And I will say, never screamed.
No.
I was okay. I just held on. We went very fast.
We didn't go that fast.
Well,
it felt that fast. But
it was.
It really wasn't that fast.
We were on a windy road up the mountain. It was awesome. It was quite exhilarating. So he's quite the good driver. So when he's handling all of your cybersecurity, after that he blows off some steam by driving fast cars. And I want to ask, okay, with this schedule and the cars, what's the perfect Eric Hanson day when you're not being pulled in so many different directions?
I don't know that there is a day I'm not pulled in a bunch of directions.
If you had that day, what would it look like?
Oh, don't put me on the spot like this.
That's the whole point to this, right?
I don't know. I get to sleep in. I get to go play with my toys, be with my partner, and have a nice dinner. I'm not that complicated.
Tell me what that dinner includes.
Oh, who knows?
Come on.
What? I don't know.
Well, I do know one thing.
Probably a fillet.
Okay.
Probably involve a fillet.
So we have a fillet, and then we have a drink of choice. When Aaron Steinmetz was here, he talked about screwball.
Yeah.
I have learned a few things from you. What is your drink of choice?
Oh, it depends. But usually it involves bourbon of some sort.
Yes, keep going.
I don't know what there's to keep going with.
Rye or wheat?
Rye. Well, I do enjoy rye.
Yes.
And I have made barrel-aged Manhattans several years. Haven't for the last 2 or 3 years because I couldn't go see clients to go hand them out. But yeah, probably a Manhattan to go with that fillet.
Now, do you do the smoke in the cup and all of that?
I do not. I enjoy the smoked drinks, but I have not gone down that road to be able to do that at home.
Well, so you do not own the smoker?
I do not own the smoker.
Okay. Well, I am going to request of you to purchase a smoker.
Buy a smoker. Okay.
So I can learn. I learned double rye with you. I might as well learn this whole smoke thing as well from you.
Uh-huh.
Well.
How has this devolved into drinking?
It's Eric Hanson. Hello. I hope you can see that Eric Hanson is not just that geek in the weeds IT guy. He is so much more, and he gives back to our community. He is very humble. People may not think that because he speaks IT geek in the weeds language. However, listen to what he was saying. He just doesn't want the spotlight. He doesn't need the spotlight, but he's always giving. His schedule is so busy every day, and I can say every day because I have seen him on the weekends. He's giving back in some way, shape, or form to the community, even at Rotary when we're selling beer. See, always around alcohol with you. You can edit that part out. Nonetheless, great guy, and I'm so appreciative of everything I've learned from you and what you give to our community because it's fantastic. Where can people find you and learn from you?
Well, they can find me at Inland Productivity at inland-prod.com.
Okay.
They can, I guess, give me a call, 909-981-4500. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Well, I thank you so very much for your time today. I am so appreciative of everything I've learned from you, my time with you. I can't even tell you. It's amazing, and I'm grateful for all of the time I get to see. I'm saying I'm grateful for you and the time I spend with you, Mr. Hanson. Wow. Boy, thank God everybody's recording that because we may not say that often.
That's not happening again.
It's a moment. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.